The record is 269. Let's see if we can do any better. Let's load this next one into here. I also like the fact you can load this from the top like a spam. I like that. Alright, ready, aim, and 270. 270. So how do you make a blaster of a madman? Now I am, of course, very good at making madman blasters, and the reason is because I like to shoot in a level of between 280 and 350 feet per second. Now there are a lot of blasters that just aren't capable of that speed, and some of these actually make better backup blasters, such as a Mauser fire, in some cases a hammer shot, two-handed, really close range. Now this is a shop video, which means of course it's not going to be pretty. The funny thing is, the last shop video I made actually had more views than the actual review, which I thought was very, very interesting. And that was the one for the Saturn, and how to take out the locks, and how to make it so you can fire more than one shot at a time. As a matter of fact, you can load 3. And the interesting part about that is you can load 2 in the muzzle and then 10 inside, and then when you pump it up once, you're ready for 3. So you can have the whole thing unprimed, which I think is really interesting. You can have the whole thing unprimed. You can have it ready for 2 shots, pump in, throw in the third, and then you got a whole nother 3 shots, 3 shots, 3 shots. So that's 4 times 3. Or if you really got to shoot something long range, and you just shoot 1 and boom, you got a 100-foot rifle shot right there. But we're not focusing on that today. Today we're focusing on the Aeon Pro. And right now I have it apart because I had to do a few little adjustments to it. Let's get to it. So okay, so here we are. This is filmed in macro. The first thing that needed attention was the barrel. Now, what does the barrel look like? Yeah. There it is. There's the barrel right there. Okay, so this was 2 pieces of duct tape, brand duct tape, not tartan type duct tape, not 3M duct tape. Why? Because it's a little bit thicker of a film. It's more consistent. It tears away a lot cleaner. Now, what Crazy Glue does is it bonds to the polyester threads of the threads, but also bonds to this gate. Okay, so it tends to make a laminate bond. So you hear this a lot. I use a laminate tape bond. Well, that's what this is. Another really good tape to use is 3M Extreme Packing Tape that has cloth going this way and that way. Why? Because that also bonds. It makes these threads also bond into the Crazy Glue. The whole thing doesn't bond. The stickum doesn't bond. What bonds are the edges. So if you glue the edges, you can get that. But this is a lot less removable than this. And you'll see that that's kind of my signature look of using fiberglass, laminate fiber tape. Another bond I use is laminate duct tape. It's perfectly airtight. It's perfectly strong. I mean, yeah, feel that. I gave it another run of tape today. But I had to clean out this barrel a little. I put in 3 coats of wax. It still needs a 4th one. We'll try to do a firing test today, but I only have 2 Adventure Force darts left. So check that out. Whoa, isn't that great? Closer look. Wow. Yeah, check that out, guys. So what did I do? The usual wax treatment that I use. If you don't know what it is, look on my channel. Look for wax barrel treatment. There's a few videos on it. Essentially what you do is you take a dart, you fill this hole with either DuPont PTFE. I'm not using any PTFE, I'm only using Pledge. Pledge or White Lightning Teflon Spray. You put the dart in there, you fire a couple rounds. What it does is it evenly coats the inside of it. Now the most important thing, this is a used pen. When you have this all in there, it dries for a day. That means you don't see any sparks, you don't see any spots, you don't see anything. It's just one wet glob in there. Okay, the Pledge has to completely evaporate and has to completely dry before doing this. This is usually overnight. Okay, so what you do is you take it, let's pretend this is all wax. What you do is you take it like this, and you go like this. Let's take another, I have a couple bad pens that don't do anything, and you push rod it through here, just like you would the cleaning kit of a firearm, and you'll get a little bit of dirt on there. Yeah, look at that. It actually kind of cleaned it out a little. You drop the rest of your cleaning rod out, and there it is. Another thing you can use is you can use like a 3/8 wood dowel. That works too, okay? But I like the point of one of these fine spent sharp Marcos. I have a lot of spent ones that are just empty and dry. So taking the end of a dart, let's say I use this ACC version 3, wrapping it around like so, it puts pressure on the outside of it, and it makes it so I can make finishes like this. That is first key to getting high velocity. Second is crowning and leveling. I use a process where I will literally take a file, crown it, turn it, crown it, turn it, crown. What it does is it levels it. So by turning it, filing it, turning it, filing it, turning it, filing it, I don't have to do it because I've already done it to this. You level the barrel, and what it does is it averages out your strokes of your filing so that you don't have any high sights or low sights. It's perfectly even. Next thing you want to do is you want to crown it. Use a deburring tool, pair of scissors like this, and you want to take this little bit right here, and you want to, yeah, you got it. You want to sit there, and I'm just going to simulate it. You want to dig it. You want to get this nice little bevel, so when it launches off, it's not nicking on anything. But before I do any of that, a lot of people, when they cut their barrels, they'll cut it with a cutting tool. Very similar to this. And what it does when you cut it is you're notching inside the barrel. Now, I'm going to try to fan it out, take a pair of pliers, whatever, but what I find is the best thing to use, 1/2 inch stainless steel rod. This is K&S, so just like K&S makes your barrels, yes, stainless steel rods. Oh, and we'll get into this barrel in a second. This barrel is actually not your standard number 8140 brass. It is actually 0.29 gauge 9/16, which goes to 1/2 inch, rather than 17/32 goes to 1/2 inch. It makes it a little heavier. Now, I had this lying around for a little bit, and it's the only brass I had, and so far I'm really liking it. It's really good. Okay, so here it is. This is exactly 1/2. This is what I use for my pushers. It exactly will fit in there, and as a matter of fact, if you put it in like this, it will make a perfect air seal. So go like this, and check your gauge all the way through, and if you go out your back, that means that you don't have any glue here or anything in here that's obstructing. You don't have anything up here and over here that's obstructing, and I gotta wax it yet again because I just kind of scratched off a layer of wax. But nonetheless, look at that. Now I'm perfectly level. A dart can go through there without obstruction. I am ready for my next step. I am ready to go on my next step. So when I talk about gauge it with a 1/2 inch piece of stainless steel, and people go, oh, what are you talking about? Well, that's what I'm talking about. Okay? Don't just put a dart on there and see. No. Use a piece of stainless steel. Make sure that this platform is the same ID, interior diameter, on the whole thing, including the front, including the back, including everything. And that's one way to get back to the higher velocities. Now that this is done, I want to show you how I mounted it. So right now, I am going to do a different mount. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these little tabs out, and I'm going to throw some 3/4 aluminum. Now, I don't have any 3/4 aluminum on me, anodized aluminum, like you see on my Swan barrels, Chronomag, Big Blue, but this will fit that if those lines aren't in there. So I'm going to nest that in here with this. For right now, what I'm using as an internal mount is these are O-rings that fit a Jet Blasters alpha kit. They're 14 millimeters by 2. And what happens is, I can take this right here, I can put this in here. I already have a little tape spacer in there too, where this meets the back. And then I can go, I can take this NBR ring. Well, actually this isn't NBR, that's a different one. I think that's a nitrobutyl. Nah, it's not nitrobutyl, forget what it is. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to take this first one. I'm going to take this Allen wrench with this very small bit, and I'm going to push this into here. Actually, it already did that for me. Oh, interesting. I'm going to take a second one just to hold it in. This one's a little tighter. This is an NBR ring, actually. Natural butyl rubber. Boom, boom, boom. And it will give me kind of a, it'll give me a platform to keep the barrel stable. It won't exactly keep it from moving. It will still move a little when you're firing. I need to put a more stable barrel point, but that's what I'm using the 3/4 aluminum for. So this blaster's not done yet by any means. And I would consider this kind of a stage 1 mod. Stage 2 and 3 are going to look insane, and I'm not even going to tell you what they are. I mean, stage 1, no expanded plunger tube, no Merlin, no nothing. Okay, so let's get into the next thing I did to this thing. Okay, so I kept all my locks, everything else. I used a little bit beefier of a catch spring because that catch spring just kept getting removed, and it pissed me off. And this thing will actually use the next spring that I have with the stock spring. Yeah, I'm really amazed. However, when I took it apart, I found a problem. One little problem, something that you got to sort out. Okay, so here's the spring I have in here. Let me compare this to the spring that I have in that I took out of here. And another spring you can use that may be a better alternative for you. Because 18.5 turf is quite powerful. So this is the original stock Aeon Pro spring. Take a good look at it, okay? About 1.8 millimeter gauge, it's pretty long. It's actually probably, save the spring, it's probably good for modding with other stuff. What I have in here, however, as you can see, makes that one look wimpy. A 2.5 gauge, 1.25 inch diameter spring. Does this look familiar? Actually, it's 1 1/8. 1 1/8 diameter spring. Does this look familiar to you? Does this maybe look like a Turf 18.5? Because it actually is. It's a Turf 18.5. I just cut off that many coils. See? That many. Okay? That's it. Yeah. So what this does is, this is 8 coils. Goes into here. When I put this in, and I put this in coil first because you have a guide in the front, which will help guide it. Lots of pre-compression. I got about an inch of pre-com. Excellent. Close space about 4 inches. Let me take this out and show you something I had to do. Okay, so I'm using, Mag 1 lithium grease. It's actually non-lithium grease. It's actually silicone grease. I don't know why they call it lithium grease, but it's actually the grease that I've been using for years, ever since that fire strike exploded on me when I used acetone-based lube. That did really happen. That was really crazy. Okay, one thing you'll notice when I take this off, and I don't have it here anymore, but there is a mold mark that goes through here, and it notches. And it notches up maybe 1/2 millimeter or so. What I was noticing was sometimes when I was firing, it was kind of harder to pull trigger. So what I did is I took a fine file in a slightly filed up, perfectly level. You make sure your file's perfectly level, and it was just a few, and that was it, done. And it smoothed that. So when I put my fingernail over it, I don't feel a notch there anymore. Important, because you're putting a lot of pressure on this. Now, under this spring load, it probably wouldn't matter. But under like that kind of spring load, that's a lot. That's a lot. Let me show you another spring that I used. The first spring I used was actually a 16 kilogram off an old, off an old gold turf spring. This is 16K turf, and I used it. Okay, so another alternative, and it did 260 feet per second, between 250 and 260. So to some people, this may be a good alternative. Another really good spring to use is a Titan 14 kilogram spring, an Artifact 14 kilogram spring, because it has enough close space to fit in here. However, if you do that, your spring guide is really made for this diameter. And I like the fact that they made it so it doesn't dance around, it doesn't anything, it just fits there. Brilliant. I mean, I see some very good design. Another thing I want to note out while I have this apart is oh my gosh, the plunger tube can break. It can break. It's unpadded. How is it staying apart? How is it staying together? If it'll ever come out, I will show you how it's staying together. Oh, I got him out the other day. What the crap? Let me show you. Alright, here. It kind of stuck in there because of the grease. There's a silicone ring in here. Look at that. Nice, thick silicone ring. And it stays in there. Unlike the Prophecy one that moves around, this one like stays in one place. Because they didn't just make it the size on this side, they make it the size on that side. And the inside of this molding, see that? Right. They didn't compromise on this design at all. I love that. $25, and I see better engineering than I see on blasters that cost $200, $250. So let's take this pin, pack that right in there. Isn't that great? Oh man. So there's no need to pack this. This is also where the return goes for your two O-rings that go on the telescoping part of the pusher. The pusher I did nothing with, and even under the heavy spring load, I don't see one stress crack anywhere. Only thing is, though, that is a really small diameter to try to throw 18.5 through there. Remember, a blast has to breathe, and the faster it can breathe, the faster it can move the air. And even though there's a significant amount of dead space from this outer cup, it still doesn't breathe. It's like Big Blue, for example. It has 11. This hole here is 11 millimeters on Big Blue. On a worker kit, it's 8 millimeters. On a Omega kit, it's 8 millimeters. Does it matter at 18.5? Yes. Does it matter at 14? Not really. But you'll notice that once you start getting to those high speeds, it's harder and harder to get to 300. The less and less air can get to it, the barrel, as fast as you can move it. Okay, so at any rate, I move this. I put some grease in there. Actually, let's put a little more in there. Let's put just a little more just to do it. I just wanted to show you how I built this, and maybe we'll get a firing test going. Okay. Put a little bit more silicone grease on there. That's the best silicone grease I've ever used, and I really do push blasters to the limit, as you can imagine. I'm pushing this blast to the absolute limit. I do not recommend throwing any more than 18.5 in here. I'll be perfectly honest. I think 18.5 is the limit of the design. It's the limit of the airflow design. I don't think a higher velocity spring will do it. And as a matter of fact, I believe very strongly that even 16 or 14 is probably better for you. It'll probably get you 230, 250, 260. It's probably better for you. The main thing you gotta worry about is the barrel, okay? The barrel, how it's bound here and it's sealed. Foamdemic makes a breech, 3D printed breech that the barrel goes all the way back to your pusher. Cool. They also make a skinny breech. So if you're into that skinny breech philosophy, which for reasons I just said before, I'm not, but some people are, because most people are either going to keep these stock, are going to push 10 kilograms, 12 kilograms, 14 kilograms. I don't blame you. Not to mention, to a lot of people, this is a pistol, not some piece of handheld artillery like I would shoot, simply because I'm obsessed with being Scaramanga. What can I say? I am the man with the golden gun, and everybody freaking knows it, okay? I have a reputation to uphold. I can't help it. Yeah. So anyway, let's get this thing back together, and let's throw this on chronograph. But those are my design notes. Everything else is the same. The trigger catch is the same, everything's the same. I haven't even taken out the locks out of this thing yet, okay? Except for this spring, and that was just a matter of I got sick of it falling out. You can keep that same catch spring there, and there it is. Also, I know some people that are working on a solution for this magwell, FFW, so stay tuned. That's going to be really cool because it gets rid of this magwell, and it makes it so you're only loading the Stefan mag in. And it makes the Stefan mag accessible from there, from this. I think that's a really great idea. So, let me get this back together, try to throw a firing test on here, and hopefully I don't burn my stage lights before then, because they're probably running out of battery, and see what we can do. Alright, so the moment of truth. I waxed the barrel, I tuned it up a little. Let's throw an Adventure Force Star through here and fire away and see what we got. 266. The record is 269. Let's see if we can do any better. Let's load this next one into here. I also like the fact you can load this from the top like a spam. I like that. Alright, ready, aim, and 270. 270. So I'm breaking my record like 1 foot per second at a time. But you get the idea. Yes, this is really cool. I showed you guys how to do it and everything. I'll be honest with you. Let me be honest with you. To me, priming something that is 18.5K, 16K, 14K, to me it's the same prime. It's not that way for everybody though. And let me be honest with you and say that you might be better off with a cutoff 16. And the reason is I don't think that the breech, as in current design, can really do better than 270 at the moment. I think if you have a wider breech, maybe made out of metal, it can do it because you can have a bigger diameter throw and everything else. Also, there's a lot of dead space and you got 2 sets of rings, So I don't really know. I know this is optimum barrel size for this design, for this CC, and for anything 16 kilograms and up. Also, do put in mind that my 1 to 7.1 ratio that I get asked about just about every day, sometimes more than once a day. What is that ratio, Chris? What's your magic ratio? Well, it's 1.71 at 16K or above. As soon as you go 14K, 12K, 10K, you have more variables such as drag, everything else. Also, do understand that 16 kilograms or above assumes a perfect seal, and that a lot of blaster systems are not a perfect seal, and that perfect seal also includes your dart. Okay, so if you're throwing loose darts in there, same thing. But I really do think that maybe 16 might be better for this blaster. I may tone this down to 16 later on, but for right now, I'm liking 270 out of this. This is nice. This is happy. This is only stage 1 mod. Okay, it's only stage 1. I'm thinking stage 2 and stage 3 I might pull 300s, but it's going to take some work to get above 300. And is it really worth it when I have a Chronomag that can only do 300, a Bird of Prey that can do past 300? I don't know. And also, it might be good for wars when people say, oh, that's a little too hard. Can you use a little softer pistol? That does happen. Sure, I'll use this blaster. That shoots 250, 260 with 16K. That's what I do with the other Chronomag. The other Chronomag is 16 kilograms. For that reason. The one that came from Nerf Easy-E, he gave me one of his first kits. So at any rate, this is Chris Cartaya. Don't go changing. As usual, you know the consequences. I'll fucking find you. Another really good tape to use for this, if you can find it. Oh, where did I put it? I just had it. Shit. Like this. Here, I'll show you. Where did I put that damn file? I am so out of sorts today. Fuck. Okay.